All right. So, hello. Um, yeah, I had some trials and tribulations, so I figured I'd make an extra video here. The the video preceding this, and this is an announcement just for the async individuals. The video preceding this was I failed to demonstrate the animator properly. Thus, I'm just gonna go through the animation steps one more time. This time without compile errors and without using an old demo example. It's still useful. I have some lighting techniques in there that I go over. I also go over just animation in general. So do look at part one. However, this will be more focused on animation and will hopefully make up for some lost instruction. All right, here we go. Yeah. What shall we start things off with? I want to go ahead and get some objects in here that I can mess around with and all that. Just make things right. We'll go into some detail here on animation. First and foremost, we need things to animate. And lucky for you, this will also be a nice demonstration on, or rather a reiteration of applying materials and such, because I'm definitely going to make a material for these cubies up in here. Perhaps I'll even put a light in there. So game object, maybe another cube here. Why not? Because we want to demonstrate how fantastic, uh, FSMs, finite state machines are. We don't want to just be, plain and simple. We want to kick some booty and get some things fired up here. So there we go. No idea what that means, but let's get into it. So I'll go ahead and just demonstrate a couple of things. I put in my lights. I might even make a little stage for us here, just so that we're all on the same page and all that, as far as the way things look, because I like to make things look good. I don't know about you, at least as much as I can. Sometimes I get a little lazy when I'm teaching, when it comes to making things look good, but you know what? That's fine. I'll just go ahead and give this a little ambiance, maybe something like that. Wouldn't mind doing something like that. Alright, cool. And then I'll put a little bit of flair on it with a little bit of a backdrop, just so I don't have to feel guilty about confusing you with the never-ending ether of a skybox. Let's do that. Nice, very good. Cool. And the final touch for the lovely materials, I will go with. What do I have here for materials? Well, nothing. I want to make sure I get the material here. Material, where are you? There you are. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to call this plain matte, because there's nothing crazy about it. So it's going to be a plain old material. And as I select that, I can then go in here and maybe select a color that I want, right? Perhaps I'll do something like maybe a blue color. Not something wild blue. There we are. Very, very good. We'll apply that there. Apply that there. And here. And as for the terrain, I am not feeling this terrain. It doesn't look that great. Right? So let's get some material on there. Alright, cool. So what we'll do is we'll go in here. Pick something like that. Or like that. Or like that. I don't mind that. It's pretty good. As for the cube here, I'm just going to actually lighten up this color just because it's not showing up as good as I would like. So, just lighten that up a little bit. More like that. There we go. Then we'll put another light over here. Why not? The lights, Control D and W to move it around. Just do something like that. Maybe we'll even make it a different color, because why not? Right? There we are. Beautiful. That's nice. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. And there we are. Just gonna make the range a little bigger here. There we are. We'll give this a little rotation to start with. Why not? Right? We'll also go ahead and drop that down to here just so we can see what the heck is going on. That. And perhaps this one over here could be shifted a bit. Shift it forward too. Up. There we are. Cool. A little rotation on that as well, just because. Perhaps even dip it down a little bit. There we are. Cool. So we have our boxes in play. Bring that to the right a little more. Center it in the screen a bit. There we are. Cool. What I want to do now is give us some lovely, lovely animation. First things first, we need to make sure that we have our window for animation. Where would we find that? We would find that here, under Window, Animation. Go to Animation. And mine's popping up on a different side, different screen, excuse me. But you can just simply put it down here, next to your console. A little bit of version control there. You may not see that, but if you do, that's great. Nice way to save things, right? Cool. So, I want to start out by probably organizing my space a little bit. So terrain, I'll put in environment, the point light in environment, point light, parentheses 1 in environment. I have no idea what this is, but yep, there it is. That's the stage in the backdrop. Put that in there. Then I'll right click here, I'll go to create empty, and I'll make a parent for our cubes, because we're using a finite state machine. So we need a little bit of a parent to, to make goodies bounce and do things like walk and roll and spin and animate like a wild giraffe neck, right? Okay, here we go. Dancing giraffes, parrots, all the goodies, boxes. Let's call it boxes. Beep, boop, boop. Nice. Zero that puppy out, because you want your parent to be, to have a home, so that the children can come home, eat some lunch, perhaps dig into some dessert, feel at home with themselves, feel like it's a clean environment, a good environment. There's a place they can always come back to, and that needs to be 0, 0, 0. So that's why we do that. The real reason is because if it's not 0, 0, 0, then your objects are going to be spinning around, not knowing where to tie themselves to, or rather, they'll be tying themselves to an origin that isn't really an origin, and you're going to be wondering why your stuff is all wonky when it animates, especially if you open up the program again. So be careful with that. Make sure that the parent is always zeroed out, almost like freeze transform, but manually. And off to the races we go for animation. What do we have to do? First and foremost, I'm just going to teach you straight up, go into the animator. Don't even worry about legacy version animation, which is, I did go into that a little bit on the last one. It's good to know, but totally unnecessary to use nowadays. It has been deprecated. So animator is the way to go. I know this because, well, I just published something. So I am in the industry, so to speak. So I'm constantly kind of working in Unity and getting goodies done. So here we are with our cubes. Let's get into it. We'll go into our animator. We'll just pop that open just to check, make sure we don't have anything here. However, what happens if we make an animation? Well, first and foremost, you got to make a folder for animations because we're going to be making a few. Animation. Boom. Done. Folder is in. We are good. Click on that. Then click on boxes. And let's begin let's actually create an animation for that. We actually didn't have to click on that, but I just went for it anyways for some reason. We're going to right click in our animation folder all the way down here. Everybody, create animation. Boop. We'll call it Sassy. Sassy 1. Enter. Nice, look at that. And you know what? Let's make another Sassy. Let's make a Sassy 2. But instead of right-clicking again and doing all that crazy stuff, just duplicate. Control D. And we'll name this little guy 2. Sassy 2. And while we're at it, well, we can make another one, just in case you want to get a little crazy. Want to make a little bit more, right? Sassy 3. Boop. Oh, look at that. That's nice. Triple Sassy. Right there. Triple Sass. Triple Sass sitting in the grass. There is no grass here. But, you know. Alright. Cool, cool, cool. Animation. Sassy. Well, now we got to start putting things into slots so that animations actually function. We have these kind of raw animations here. They have absolutely no purpose at the moment, but we're going to give it purpose, give it motion, give it some vibrance and life and beautiful chaos. Add component to boxes, which is your parent object to your children of cubes. Add component. Click on that in the inspector, and then you're going to type in animator. Boop. There is a requirement when you have an animator, you need an animation controller or animator controller. We don't have that yet, so let's make one. We'll right click in our animation folder again. We'll go to create animator controller. And we will say Sassy Mama, because that is what that is. Then we'll go into boxes, plop that Sassy Mama in the controller slot. Look at that, we are good to go. Oh my goodness, we don't need an avatar, mainly due to the fact that we are not working with characters. All right. So this is good. We don't need to apply root motion. It should fare just fine. We'll just keep it as is, and we'll proceed. So Sassy Mama's in play. Underneath boxes. However, if we go into the animator, there's no states here, but it is available. We can see that it is functioning. It has a base layer. So the component is working. This is nice, right? Boxes has populated an animator. If I were to go to environment, let's see. I want to see if I can actually get it to spawn differently. Animator for environment. I guess I can't. That's okay. I was going to show you what happens if you click on something else. All this disappears, but it did not do that. So we'll just keep on going forward here. Updates are always new, and they'll catch you off guard. So be aware of that. I want to roll these into my animator controller. So Sassy 1, I'll use that as the default. Now, the thing is, though, I kind of want to have a little bit of layering going on. And perhaps I'll put Sassy 3 in here. Why not? I think that's fine. And then we'll actually make a new layer. And we'll play with Sassy 2. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of putting in states. These are called states. So any state, entry state, exit state. We won't need to exit because we're creating a loop animation. You can turn that on or off depending on what you need. You've learned this in 119, especially if you took a class with me. So you should actually already know how to animate. That's the same principles as you learned. We're just doing it in 3D now. However, we do go a little bit further into the setup and such, which we didn't do as much of in 119. So this is a nice refresher for everybody, plus some clarity and new things. So I'm gonna make a new layer. How the heck do you do that? Well, you go to layers, and then you go to this plus button. Nice, bada bing. Let's put the SAS 2 in here. SAS 2, we'll let that just have its own little situation there. No exit, we'll loop it around, and I'm just playing around with these nodes. You don't really have to put them the way I'm putting them in. I'm just kind of playing around and moving them. Organize them as you like, though. You'll notice here that base layer has a full grayed out white solid bar. That is due to the fact that it has a weight of 1, and it is the base layer, so it kind of has to have that inherently. For SAS 2, I have 0. I have no weight on this animation. So I probably want to change that. Sometimes you want it to be half or a quarter, right? But in our case, I want it to just be a full-blown animation. I wouldn't mind if it was additive. What additive does is it sort of blends with the other layers a little bit. In this case, it probably won't do that because it's kind of its own thing. So it may be irrelevant to change it to additive. However, it will. It's going to be running simultaneously, so we'll just kind of play with it as such. The beauty of finite state machines overall, though, is you can have interaction. So we will be getting into that. First things first, though, I have to go in and make animations, right? So let's get into the animation panel. Animation. Sassy 1. Look at what we have here. 1, 2, 3. These were not here before. There was nothing here, just like there was nothing in here, because I showed you this and there was nothing. We dragged them in and watch what happens. If I delete this, Sassy 2 is gone. No more Sassy 2. Sassy 2 has left the animator. But we can pop Sassy 2 back in. It ain't no thing. There you go. Beautiful. Animation. Let's go. Sassy 1. Boop. Go back to your scene view. Let's select the item we want to create the first sassiness with. F on the keyboard to hone in on your object, and you all know how to navigate. I'm not going to tell you those buttons. I typically will copy the transform because most of the time I place my objects, and that was just clicking on those 3 dots and copy component. Most of the time I put my assets in the place I want them to start anyways, right? However, sometimes I don't. And in those instances, I don't have to copy the transform at first because it's already, I'm putting it in the position as I'm recording, right? So then it keys, and that's going to be the start, right? However, I don't want that for this one. I want to start exactly where I placed it from the outset. So I'll actually click on the 3 dots again. I'll paste component values. It'll pop right back. It records that translation of coordinates. And we'll go to the 30 millisecond mark. And I'm just going to move it up a little bit. At the 30-second mark, or at this mark here, I'll probably go up, probably go down to here, to the 55. I will copy, or rather I'll paste my values again. So paste it. Except I want it to go a little bit further, just so it looks like it's a little bit more organic, like it's landing down, right? And then I'll paste again so that it's just right where I want it. I'll press play and give it a little boop, beep. That's really nice. Okay, good. Looks pretty smooth. Nothing crazy, but it looks pretty smooth. So that's cool. Good. And you recall how to use this, I would imagine, from 119. This is your time slider. This right here, I went over in the other video a little bit further, a little bit more, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but all your animation clips and animation states that are in your animator are located here. Always remember that. You can always create a new clip if you have to, straight from this drop down, so that's nice to know. The beauty of animation is, well, you can do multiple things at the same time. I really would not mind having a little bit of cube 1 movement in conjunction. So I'm going to copy those components. I'll go ahead over here and I'll just give it a little bit of movement. Then I'll paste the components there. There you go. Now that has a little movement as well. And at the 30, or at the, let's do 20. Let's do the 20 mark. We're just going to go up. And at the 40, we'll go towards us. Let's bring it around towards us just so we have a little bit more depth in our animation. It's just going to be a little fun, right? Oh, looks like I missed actually copying the component back to the 1 second spot. I'll have to just go ahead and do that in a bit. I'll paste the components again. We'll just bring it on back. And let's just see how that's looking here. There you go. Nice. It's coming towards us. Lovely. Now for this one, I kind of want it to spin a little bit. So we'll just go to that 30-second mark. Maybe it rotates in such a way that right? And then it goes back. So we can actually copy the components at the 30. Well, copy the rotation at the beginning position. So we'll actually go in here and we can do a specific copy rotation. You're copying the rotation only. Very useful. And then when we get to 1, it'll just be done. There you go. A little bit of a jig here. Look at that. All right, nice. Cube 1. I need to do some things with little old cube 1 because it does have some. Oops. Copy components, and I'll go to 1, and I'll paste component values. Notice how nothing happened. That's because there is no difference between this and that. So I'll actually go here and I'll just give it a little bit of that touch of translation I was talking about before, and then I'll do that. That's better. Okay. Just a little bit of that. Nice. Okay, cool. Would not mind if this moved a little bit more towards this area, but that's okay. It's alright. We're hanging out. Alright, cool. Good. Save your work. Always save your work because you never know when your computer's going to explode. It will explode. Boxes. Good. Now, that's Sassy 1. Sassy 2. Well, we don't need to touch that yet. Let's do Sassy 3. Sassy 3. Sassy 3 is actually in here. We can actually right-click here on what we call the default layer state. That's why it's orange. You could just as easily right-click this one and set this as your default layer state, or layer default state, however you want to do it. But we need a transition. So I want to have a transition that goes to Sassy 3. So I'm just going to right-click on that one, make transition, and click that one. All right. From there, I will bring it on back. So I'm going to make a little bit of an action here where it goes back to Sassy 1. And I only want this transition to occur when we trigger it. Now you can use script and C# in particular to, perhaps you run up to a collider. The collider's triggered. It's not actually a collision. It's more like you're using the collider as a trigger, and then your C# script says, "Hey, play this animation, or rather transition now," and it triggers it. In order for that to happen, you need an actual parameter that allows that event to occur, or rather, that allows the event to make Sassy 3 occur. The event being colliding with a collider. I'm just using an example here. We're going to pretend that that's what's going on, but I'm not going to go over any scripts in this tutorial. So trigger is what you want. We're going to go to parameters. So we went from layers to parameters, and we went to this plus button where we can basically make interaction however we want, from floats to this, and then trigger, right? We'll call this Sassy Trig. All right. You'll notice that when I clicked from here, which outlines your motion, your speed, other parameters can be set. It also outlines the transitions that you've made from this to this. But when I click from that to clicking on the transition, there are some things that pop up here, that being the transition settings. Now, because I'm making this interaction interactable, or rather making it into like an event trigger, I want to make sure it doesn't have an exit time, because I don't want the animation to just play. I want it to play when we do something in our game or in our experience. Thus, I will click has exit time off. Then I'll go down and you'll see the warning, transition needs at least one condition, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we get it. We'll press plus on here. Because I only have one parameter set, it's just going to assume that that's what I want. Because Unity can be smart sometimes, believe it or not. It saves me a little clickety time, right? This you can adjust transition duration. You can do it manually or rather visually here, or you can do it by setting these numbers, integers, etc. Other settings are also available, but this should suffice for now. If you are interested in more advanced topics in regards to this kind of stuff, just reach out to me. I would love to help you out and expand your knowledge. As for Sassy 2, Sassy 3, we want to trigger it. So the issue is Sassy 3 doesn't have any animation, so we have to go about that. We have to actually make some animation here. So Sassy 3, let's make some movement. So for Sassy 3, yeah, we're just going to go right ahead and create a little motion here. I want it to play a bit of a jig. So perhaps something like for our, if we go back to scene, here, we click on that one. Perhaps we spin this little guy a bit. I'll copy the components. Actually, do we need to copy the components? Not necessarily. This is actually going to completely change the animation entirely. So it's actually going to just stop everything, and it won't be additive. So we actually may want to just go ahead and delete this one here, and instead place it here. So we'll actually put Sassy 3 there. I think that makes more sense. Animation, Sassy 3. We'll get our transition back. So additive is going to be nice, because then we can just, well, it could be additive. Instead of like completely shutting off the other animation to start another one, it'll just add it on top of the other animation. So that'll look better. It'll feel better. We'll go to the transition here. We'll do the same as we did before. Has exit time. Check off. Condition. Sassy trig. Button. This one I want to keep as is. I think it's fine. So for Sassy 2, perhaps we should start there, no? That way we have something to go from and to. So Sassy 2, let's go. So this Sassy 2 will just be an additive feature to this box here. Cube. And I'll just kind of select this. Copy components. Move. Paste. And we'll just kind of go like this. Oh, whoops. I want it to stay there. This. And at 40. One. And paste. Let's just see what that looks like. Yeah, a little bit of a jiggity jig jig. Nice. Actually, move that maybe a little bit more over to here, actually. Alright, cool. Nice. Alright, and as we're here, we'll just, now we'll just make something for Sassy 3, so we can actually switch what we're doing. We'll pop over to Sassy 3 here. And Sassy 3 will be... why don't we animate this one a little more? We'll copy and paste whatever it is at the moment. Or you know what? Let's actually give it more of a spin. Yeah, I like that. Let's copy rotation. Let's spin it this way now. So I'll actually paste rotation, and we'll go here, and we'll just give it a little zoop. We'll paste rotation again. Boop. Very nice. There we are. That's nice. Okay, cool. Doesn't know what the heck it wants to be, but that's perfectly fine. I think that's good, actually. Right. And we want to make sure that we have done things properly. So we went through the base layer. We've created an animation for Sassy 1, where the cubes are doing a little jiggity dance. Then we went to Sassy 2, and we just had this one slide around a little bit. You know, it's just going to be doing that on the regular, doing its little jukebox dance there. And Sassy 3 gives this guy a little bit more spin. And that is going to be our trigger. So keep that in mind. We're going to trigger that to occur. Thus, if we press play after entering our parameter testing preview area, we can find some goodies to play around with. So this little black circle here is what will trigger the interaction, the fake interaction that can occur. So let's do that. We'll press play. And looks like we have not actually attached our stuff yet. Let's actually do that. There's our scene. Let's actually make sure we're good here to go. So that's the box. There's this box. Clip count 3. Curves, etc. Okay, good. Good. From this point on, what do I have here? Let's make sure that these are... So sometimes what happens is animations won't play because they're actually checked to legacy, which is the old version of animation, but you want to use it for an animator. Thus, it may not play. And it doesn't look like anything's set to loop time, so that could also be why it just kind of dropped in and didn't do much else. Let's fix that. Let's actually select loop time for all these because that's definitely needed. And then we'll check if it's checked on legacy, because that can also prevent any movement. It is actually good that I ran into this issue, so I can show you how to fix it if you also ever come across this. So in order to get into debug mode, which is where we would check if an animation is indeed checked off as legacy, which we don't want. Okay, good, it isn't. You would just go to these three dots and you can switch from debug to normal whenever you want. It's just like extra parameters and settings, a little bit advanced, but I think you all can handle it. I'm going to assume that this one, and this one, they're all not checked legacy. This one I saw isn't, so I'm just going to assume that these two aren't either, being that I copied and duplicated from that one. So let's go into play mode again, and we should have some action going on. Yeah, very nice. Get a little walk around here. Very nice. It's like they're going wild. Just gonna try and click off of here without. There we go. Actually, I want to do it like that, so I can actually click off. Escape button, and that's good. All right, cool. So we can see them properly now. Didn't really want to let me out of the game preview, so we'll go back to animator, and we're gonna go to our layers, the additive layer, just so that we can see what's going on here with this. Actually, move this. I'll just move this. So we have Sassy 2 going on. Obviously, Sassy 1 is going on as well. It's repeating, it's looping. This is what we want. But this guy isn't doing anything. Let's actually make that happen. So if we go to parameters, and I click on this little booger here, because the trigger is like this, or rather is set to being a condition, we can actually trigger it and see what it would look like if it was indeed interacted with in the game. And there it is. There's the flip. Zoop. A little flippity flip flop. Does not flip unless I allow it to flip when I click on that black box or black circle. There you go. Flippity flip flop. I have a lot of fun with this. Anyways, that is Animator. That is FSM, Finite State Machine Animation, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else. Love y'all. Let me know when, when you need more help, because I will be there to assist. Your success is a part of my growth as well. Indeed. Everybody, enjoy. Enjoy the beautiful night. Farewell.